Salawat Allah Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I am the dust beneath the dust of your land. I am a beggar to you, I'm reaching my hand. You are the sun behind the clouds, though far you are near. Even if I don't see you, I know you are there. I am drowning, you're the air. You're my comfort in my fear. And I wrote your holy name on every tear. I'm at your door, I'm at your door, and I am knocking, pleading, let me into your remorse. If you turn away from me, I will lose my only hope, my only hope. Heart, I will shackle you in chains. If you forget Hussein's name, I will sever from you vein. Eyes, I will deny you light years. If you cannot shed a tear, seeing the head on a spare chest, I dare you if you would dare. Call out anyone else, dear. I would deny from you. He is all I have ever known. My heart is under his dome, beating for Arba'in Ayaman. Lend me your holy hand moments. Take me to your land moments. Allow me to breathe moments. Hussein, Hussein. I'm here to see the moon in all its glory. I am here again to listen to your story. I am here to close my eyes and drift away in a far-off memory of that tragic day. They say death surrounded you, so I came running to you to be with the millions of lovers who came. They call your name, they call your name. Everywhere I look, I hear the people crying Hussein. With the hand on their heart and one hand is wiping the pain, crying Hussein. Salawat Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. So initially I was going to do just the one talk, but we decided that given the importance of the holy personalities, that we should complete some of the things that were left unmentioned in the previous talk. Although today's talk is going to be quite a short one as well. So remember that we briefly talked about some of the last days of Imam Hasan alayhi salam, how he was treated unfairly by everyone and poisoned by his own very wife, and continues to face injustice today. Today we will go deeper into what it was like during the time of Imam Hasan, why he made the brave decision to not go to war, and why he had to make the decisions that he had, and what we can learn from him. But before that, let's recap by looking at some of the events where the Ahlul Bayt had to show extreme patience through an activity. So in this activity, what I'll be doing is I'll give you a text passage, and you have to guess who that personality is. So in the first one, I have someone who people threw rocks and rubbish at him. They starved his uncle and his wife, And when he gained power, he forgave everyone and welcomed them back into the Islamic community. Who was this? It was our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, we talked about him. The second question is that his brother was made shaheed by his wife, and when he was trying to bury him, arrows were thrown on his coffin. He could have taken revenge, but he did not do so to avoid bloodshed. Think carefully. This is actually about Imam Hussein and how his brother became shaheed. So he had to exercise extreme patience as well. Lastly, his house was burned and his wife was hurt. He was dragged in the streets of Medina for refusing to pledge allegiance to the rulers, but he endured all of this patiently. This is Imam Ali alayhi salam. So you can see all of the Ahlul Bayt, right? So this is I'm just talking about one personality, but with Imam Ali was obviously Bibi Fatima. With Imam Hussein, it was Imam Hasan as well. With Prophet Muhammad, it was Khadija and Hazrat Abu Talib as well. All of these personalities, they spread Islam through patience and forbearance, right? So that is obviously a key lesson that we have to learn in itself as well. And in the theme of patience, let's go to our next story, which is about Imam Hasan alayhi salam. So one day Imam Hasan alayhi salam was riding a horse, and on the way he came across a man who was one of the friends of Muawiyah. And remember, at that time, Muawiyah made people curse Imam Ali in the masjid. So everyone thought Imam Ali was the bad man in, the areas where Muawiyah ruled. So when that man realized that this is Imam Hassan that he is meeting, he started to use disrespectful language. Imam Hassan stopped him and listened to him, and then facing him said, "Thank you." Um, sorry, he didn't say thank you. He said, "I think you are a traveler and not a local person. You have been provoked by the enemies about us and used their false words about us, and their false word about us have made you think the way about us. So because people have been lying about us, this is why you're thinking." So Imam noticed that he was a traveler as well, and then he said, "If you have a need, let me fulfill that need. If you are hungry, I will feed you. If you require dress or clothes, I will get some dresses arranged for you. If you don't have a home to live in, I will take you along with me to my house and give you hospitality and treatment." And when that disrespectful person he heard those words from Imam, he felt embarrassed and sorry. He was so upset about what he had done that he started to cry and apologize and said, "You're right, the words of your enemies have affected me. Before I met you, you and your father were the greatest enemies of mine among all of the people. But now I have seen for myself the courtesy of yours. You are the most respectful and gracious to me among all people. I am now aware that you are someone who are the heir of the Holy Prophet, and until the time I live, I will be a friend and devotee to you, and I will defend your rights." And that's how he did it. So, see from this lesson how Imam Hassan preached Islam to the unbelievers or the people who weren't following Islam, right? They treated them with kindness, and that's how they attracted them to the true path. That is the method of the Ahlul Bayt, right? Rather than cursing people from pulpits or something like that. Even though obviously disassociating ourselves from enemies is an important obligation that we have, and also making sure that we send la'na on them. So with Imam Hassan, he treated people at his time with kindness. Now let's go deeper into um, the the life of Imam Hassan. I guess one thing that I left untouched was that if Imam Hassan was on the right path, why did he not fight? Well, he did fight. He fought earlier um, with the army that was left by Imam Ali, but as you see with the points I'll just mention, um, it became more and more difficult. So I mean, there's layers to this, right? The first one is that uh, he inherited the army of Imam Ali, who were tired of fighting. So, in the life of Imam Ali, he had struggles to face, uh, so many criminal activities that were done by uh, two different armies. So both Muawiyah's army and the Kharijites' army were killing the followers of the Prophet. They were taking the wealth that belonged to the people, and most importantly, they were fighting their own leader, Imam Ali, so that they could become kings. Within 6 months of Imam Hasan's leadership, he had only control of a small area around Kufa in Iraq. So, with Imam Ali, the Muslims fought 3 battles in 5 years. It was very tiring for them. Do you remember those 3 battles that Imam Ali fought? They fought the Battle of Jamal, Siffin, and Nahrawan, right? 3 battles that they fought. Advanced question for those of you who know. But his army became really tired. And even after defeating the Kharijites, um, Ibn Muljim came back and made Imam Ali Shaheed, right? So it's a sign that the battle was not over with the Kharijites as well. So what's the second reason? The other reason is that Imam Hasan could not even trust his own army. Muawiyah's army was really rich. So they convinced some of the army leaders that Imam Hasan is going to, he might be doing a peace treaty. So they should just save their life, and in the process, they should just get 1 million dirhams from Muawiyah. Overnight, Imam Hasan's command left, and a lot of people from his camp left and did not want to fight. Lastly, Imam Hasan was not only attacked by his enemies, but by his own followers as well, and that is a very sad thing. They felt that Imam Hasan should just fight at all costs, and when they heard rumors that Imam could sign a treaty, they stabbed his leg and pulled the musalla from his leg. They felt that they knew better than the Imam, as he should fight regardless of how loyal people are to him. They did not think that Imam Hasan was the Imam, the wisest person to make that choice. So that is the challenge that Imam Hasan faced, right? Um, and and this is what led to the treaty. Now, ironically, just before I explain the treaty, the commanders who left Imam Hasan thinking that there would be a treaty, it was because of them that the treaty had to be signed. Obviously, Imam Ali started the war with Muawiyah, or he defended the Islamic Empire from Muawiyah because Muawiyah wanted to be the caliph, was to make sure that he did not become the caliph, right? So Imam Hassan also had the same aims, but the difference was that Imam Hassan was having an army that were not wanting to fight back. They were not wanting to fight back, and as a result, he was compelled to make a treaty in a way that would ensure that the Islam that we have still reaches us, right? So he saved Islam in the process. So we talked about the treaty, but we didn't really talk about what was in it, right? The treaty would ensure that Muawiyah would control Muslim lands with certain permissions or conditions. These conditions were put by Imam Hassan to make sure that there was some Islam being followed in the Islamic Empire. So these terms included things like Muawiyah having to accept that he would act according to the commands of Quran, that he would follow the teaching of the Prophet. He had to agree that Imam Hassan would be the Khalifa after Muawiyah's death, and Muawiyah could not appoint a successor, right? And lastly, the Imam Hassan also thought about the followers of Imam Hassan and Imam Ali, that that Muawiyah had to agree that he doesn't harm them. Now, it's important to remember that Imam Hassan was supported entirely by Imam Hussein on this. Imam Hussein's leader was Imam Hassan, and he agreed that the best thing to do was sign a treaty for many reasons, right? They signed a treaty for many reasons. One of them, obviously, we talked about was the lacking support, but the other reason was that after agreeing to all of these terms, Muawiyah broke all these conditions. which showed that Muawiyah is someone that isn't true to his word. He is not someone that Muslims should follow for Islamic guidance. And you know, other reason was that after you know Muawiyah passed away, the major reason how he broke the treaty was that he appointed Yazid as his successor. Right. So this is something that is completely well known that this condition of that treaty was broken. So one of the most cruelest things that Muawiyah did was how he ensured that Yazid became his successor. Now, you know, the treaty terms were that Imam Hasan would succeed, uh, or Imam Hasan would be the Khalif after the death of Muawiyah, right? So Muawiyah found a way to make Yazid, the next, uh, you know, Khalif or controller. So at that time, Muawiyah was really worried about this. Muawiyah was old and about to die, and Imam Hassan was still young. And in this life, it's surprising how Muawiyah found the way to um, to martyr Imam Hassan. He did it through his wife. So in this life, remember that Allah tests everyone, and no one is immune to shaitan. And his wife, despite being, having the opportunity to become close to the Imam, she was not immune to shaitan and his vices. Of all the Imams, Imam Hassan was the one who was poisoned by his own wife, right? So it's a very sad thing that happened. Imam Hassan was now in Medina and he had passed away. And his family and Imam Hussein wanted to bury him next to his grandfather. There was no one that Rasulullah loved more in this earth as children than Imam Hassan. But some of the family of Medina who claimed to be close to the Prophet, they stopped Imam Hassan's coffin from even coming close to the shrine. So they threw arrows at it. This would have been very heartbreaking for Imam Hussein, if you can imagine. Can you imagine his loss? How sad he would have been at the betrayal of his brother. And now people were throwing arrows at his coffin. Despite this, Imam Hussein had so much patience. So the question is, why did Imam Hassan sign a treaty when Imam Hussein rose up and fought against Muawiyah's son, even with only 72 people? Imam Hassan had more people than that. So the answer is that Imams don't make a decision based on how they feel or whether they have a warrior mindset or a peaceful mindset. All of them would have done the same thing if they were in the same situation. One of the reasons the scholars say that Imam Hassan signed a treaty where Imam Hassan stood up was that it was very confusing for new Muslims at that time who was right and wrong. If Imam Hassan had taken whoever he had and raised the revolution, it could have been said by Muawiyah that he failed in expanding his empire against Muawiyah, who's also a supposedly good person. He was the scribe of the Prophet, right? The new Muslims at that time would have accepted that it was still okay to have Muawiyah as a leader, since at least he tries to follow a bit of Islam. Now, this was very different to Imam Hussein's mission against Yazid, right? Even though Yazid and Muawiyah are from the same source, they wanted the same thing. But Yazid was open about it. Yazid was not like his father. He was born away from Islamic lands and he was in his 30s. He was quite young, away from so he couldn't pretend that he was religious like his father, all of these things. And he had the habits of his neighbors in the Roman Empire, right? All of the drinking and the entertainment, stuff like that. They were the habits that when he was living in Syria were the habits of the surrounding empire, the Byzantine Empire. And he wanted to convert the Islamic lands like a normal empire and just conquer other places. That's what he did when he was a young person. He wasn't even openly interested in Islam. So when Imam Hussein stood up, obviously Muawiyah was alive. He stood up only when Yazid announced himself in as the next Khalifa and his followers demanded his allegiance. So you all know the story of what happened after that and how through the sacrifice of Imam Hussein, he started a revolution that would remind everyone the pure source of Islam lies with the Ahlul Bayt. And that is something that is the more important message, is that all of this journey explains how the struggles of the Ahlul Bayt from Imam Hasan, Imam Hussein, Imam Ali, what steps they took to preserve the Islam, the pure Islam that we have today. And with that, I will leave you with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
जुर्म था 6 माह के, पाचे का बता दे। उसने तो बुलाया नहीं, माँ भी मुझे कह कर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। अब तक मेरी आंखों से वो मंजर नहीं जाता, गर्दन से तेरी खून टपकता रहा बेटा, रुमाल भी बांधा ना गया तेरे गले पर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। सर इसलिए नेज़े से गिरा देते हो बेटा, सर इसलिए नेज़े से गिरा देते हो अपना, गोदी में मेरी आना है शायद तुम्हें बेटा, लेकिन है बंदे हाथ उठा सकती नहीं सर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। साजाद वो कहती थी चला भी नहीं जाता, 2-4 कदम बाद ही गिर जाती हूँ बेटा, मेरी भी कमर कम है तेरी लाश उठा कर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ कहती थी जलते हुए झूले से लिपट कर, हाय हाय अली असगर, हाय हाय अली असगर। माँ के दुलारे अली असगर, आँखों के तारे अली असगर। आग लगी है खैमों में, हाय आग लगी है खैमों में, ऐ मेरे प्यारे अली असगर। या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन।